Hi, everyone. Welcome to Epic Chats. My name is Jennifer Xu, and I'm the head of US development here at Epic Foundation. We fight to change the lives of disadvantaged children and youth around the world through our portfolio of high-impact organizations. So a bit of housekeeping. Today's chat will include an opportunity to ask our fabulous guest your burning questions during the AMA. So as you think of them, please add them to the questions tab or upvote the ones you want answered. And with that, over to you, PA.
Hi everyone, I'm Paul Antoine, or PA, as Jennifer said. I'm part of the business development team at Epic France, and most particularly in charge of growing our community of pledgers here. For those who don't know, the Epic Pledge is, for founders, a promise to give a percentage of your future success from an exit to social good. So the Epic Pledge is not legally binding. It's just a simple way as an entrepreneur to add purpose to your business life and join the community of great engaged entrepreneurs. And today we welcome one of our wonderful guests, pledgers, the CEO and co-founder of Ÿnsect, Antoine Hubert. Thank you very much, Antoine, for being here and for being part of our community. Before we dive into his journey as an entrepreneur, as you may know, at Epic, we're all about giving back. And for each webinar of this series that we are kicking off today, the speaker will choose one organization from our portfolio of 26 organizations helping vulnerable children and youth around the world. And all optional donations from you will go to the supported organization, the featured one. So today, Antoine has chosen to support Agir pour l'école, which experiments new methods to learn how to read to young pupils from 5 to 7 years old and to prevent school dropouts in France. You can see a donation being pop up on your screen, so please give what you can. It won't take you away from the Epic chat, so you can click on it. And as a reminder to all, as always, all your donation will go to the featured organization, 100% will go to Agir pour l'école. And a big thank you again to Antoine, who has generously agreed to match all the donation you will make today. So thank you all for being here, and I hope you will enjoy the discussion. And back to you, Jennifer.
Thank you, PA. Antoine, thanks again so much for joining us today from Paris. So to start off, can you briefly tell us about your current role and company?
Okay. Yeah, hello everyone. So my name is Antoine. I'm one of the co-founder of Ÿnsect, chairman and CEO. And Ÿnsect is about farming insects through vertical farming and processing them into a natural and premium ingredient to feed animals.
I want to begin by taking us back in time a little bit. I'm curious, as I'm sure a lot of folks in our audience are as well, how did you first become interested in insects?
It's for a while, actually. I grew up in the French Alps, and so when I was really young, I was in the mountains, and I was following insect butterflies. I was really amazed by butterfly beauty. And after, when I grew up, I started to be interested by photography, taking pictures for small insects, macro pictures. And then I ended up to study biology, ecology, and to be agriculture engineer, where I learned about agronomy, ecology, and I had a major in soil sciences. And eventually, I ended up in New Zealand for the end of my studies. I spent a year there, and I discovered there the use of worms, earthworms, to recycle organic waste. So back in France, I started my career as environment consultant in the industry, and in parallel, I founded an NGO called Worgamic with different friends, including Alexis. And the purpose of this association was to promote food sustainability and to reconnect people in cities, especially kids, for where their food come from and where their food waste will go when they don't finish their plates. And everything started there. And from this association, at some point, we spinned off Ŷnsect with Jean-Gabriel and Fabrice and Alexis. And I think it's explaining why Ÿnsect has this impact, is impact-driven, mission-driven from the beginning, because we are coming from this association and willing to make a positive impact from the beginning on the circularity of food, closed-loop systems, local, and using biodiversity, not earthworms.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Was it difficult to pivot from building an NGO to launching a startup? I mean, what was that conversation with Alexis like?
So it was a step by step. I mean, when you are in this association, we were working in during our off time, in the weekends, in holidays, in the evening, building games, social games, videos, serious games for kids. So it was a real entrepreneurial venture already, but non-for-profit. And just with brainstorming, we published some white papers on food sustainability, and we were at some point we found out the story of insects in Asia. It was growing there, farming insects for human food back in 2010-11, and we decided to include the topics of insect in our association. And from discussion to another, and with two other friends of Alexis, Jean-Gabriel and Fabrice, they were looking to start a startup and were looking for an idea. After discussions and meetings and beer and drinks, and we ended by just saying that beyond educating in an association, in schools, we could have an even more tremendous impact by helping to change how the supply chain is going, and by farming ourselves insects.
That's amazing.
And go global.
It sounds like
to
impact
have the
has
impact we could have.
been really central to the beginning of your entrepreneurship journey. Just really quickly, I'm curious why you decided to sign the Epic Pledge.
Yes. Because it's what you say, is giving back. I mean, we are here because we have been supported by the beginning by many people, and including the state. And since I'm a boy, a student, my parents couldn't afford very much to pay me all the courses, so I was supported by the state's grants called CRUS in France. I had the highest level of support by this, so I think I've always been recognizing this help. And so as I've been helped by others, I think it's also important not to forget where we come from, and to help others, and especially associations where I've been working for some time with organic, and to help in this case for today, Agir pour l'école, because we were working with schools with the association, because my first son is now at school, he's 4 years old, and I start to see this for real, how we teach kids how to learn and to read. So I think, yeah, it is important to, if we make something positive in terms of revenues and value creation with our
Thank you so much for giving back.
It's important to share it.
So my next question is sort of unpacking Ÿnsect a little bit. So the UN projects that our world population is going to hit 9 billion by 2050, and that food production will need to nearly double to meet demand. But today, about 1 billion people in the world are already chronically hungry, including some of the vulnerable children that Epic supports. And so increasingly over the past few years, edible insects have been touted as a sustainable solution. So Antoine, can you share a little bit about why insects are so environmentally friendly?
Yeah, sure. I think there are many ways to explain this positive impact. First, the product ingredients we can make from insects. They are highly nutritious, super well balanced in terms of nutritional components, amino acids, good fatty acids. So it's good for humans, being good for animals. Insect manure is excellent organic fertilizer. We have proven that animals and plants grow more and in better health. So basically, you can reduce by 40% at least the use of antibiotics, of pesticides, because their mortality is highly reduced because we found out that our ingredients boosting the immune system of the animals and plants. So this is super important to use less chemicals. It will be even more important after the COVID crisis to build a healthier food system. So I think it's the first thing. It's natural and healthy ingredients, and it's using less resources to make the same quantity of food. The second thing is farming. The technology, we developed a lot of technology, and this vertical farm, we use very small quantity of land. I mean, it could be 1,000 times or 100 times less than any other crops of animal farm on the same acre of land. So as we have a limit with this earth in terms of available area, and we need to increase by 70% the productivity, as you said, almost 100% in the next decades. Having the best use of each acre of available land will be essential to provide healthy food and for everyone.
And so for a lot of these reasons, I think you've been wildly successful in fundraising. So since Ŷnsect was founded in, I believe, 2011, you've raised $200 million. And just last year, you raised $125 million, which was the largest Agtech round ever raised outside of the US. And so do you have any advice for the founders that are tuning in today on fundraising?
I don't know if I can give advice. Each story is a new story, but the thing is, when you are working for something that matters, with a basic need like eating, could be transportation, could be housing, new materials. I think it's basic needs for everyone. So for the market absolutely huge. So that raises interest for investors. It's not a small market. It's a billion, hundreds of thousands of billions market size. So accessing just to a small part of it is already pretty huge, and showing that today, even more with the COVID, but in the past few years, and I was in Davos earlier this year, and you could see investors that are really looking desperately to new sustainable businesses that really show that you can reduce greenhouse gas emissions, reduce impact on biodiversity. So having this kind of story now is resonating more and more towards investors, and not only impact investors, but also other mainstream investors, public, of course, fundings. And we are also in the geostrategical topic. You know, Europe is depending from 50 to 60% in terms of protein imports from Americas, North and South America. So we are right in the agenda of Europe, right in the agenda of France. They want to relocate more proteins. And again, it will be even more true after the COVID, where we will need to shorten supply chains and be less dependent from far away and build a more resilient food system.
I see. Probably also why you were able to raise a 25 million grant from the EU.
Yeah. And of course, I didn't mention, but obviously you need to build technology. We have this very strong technology. We have, I think, 27 patents today. Wow. So I mean, science and knowledge has been a key part for us. I am a scientist as a background, and my colleagues too. And so this is super important to build something real with real data, with real strength. And obviously, it's the team. As founders, young founders, you start and you don't know many things in the life. We haven't worked a lot in other jobs before. And the key thing is to always hire better than yourself. When you grow your company, not have ego on this, delegate, give power to others, empower your team in all the ways, and then focus yourself as founders on some specific topics where you start to see you are the best at it. But just only do what only you can do is one coach told me in the past, and not try to do everything and bring really talents. I think it's also a key part, and we have been quite successful in this. And in terms of then market and sales, we managed to get today so far more than 100 million from customers. It's helped a lot thanks to the sales team, our commercial director, because the products were great, but it's not only good to have great products. You need to be able to sell it, to show why they are great, to customer to test them. And thanks to the small plant we built in Bergen, we had a real showroom at almost real scale to show how the technology were done, how to sample and supply customers with products so that they could test it live in real quantities for their own fish feed market, pet food markets, or fertilizer markets. So it's many things in terms of technology, customers, also traction, mission-driven team that makes eventually this success in fundraising.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that advice. I'll ask one more question and then actually pull in a question from our community. So the next question is about the new insect farm that you're building in northern France. I think you're preparing to scale up production to 25,000 tons. And so you touched upon this a little bit earlier, but normally people don't think about AI and machine learning when they think about insects, but you brought 2 and 2 together. And so the question I want to pull in from the audience is, given that you're kind of scaling on an industrial level, will we see insects in supermarkets in the future?
Yes, we will, definitely. It's actually already the case in few countries in Europe, beyond Europe. There were some regulation issues in the past, and we have been working together with our colleagues to build an European association called IPIF, International Platform of Insect for Food and Feed. I'm chairing this association, and we did a lot of advocacy work toward the European Commission, and to explain what we were doing. We're creating a new sector from nothing, and it's when you create a new industry, you cannot do it alone. You need to create all the ecosystem for this, including regulatory framework. And in the past, it was not really possible to sell it in supermarkets or for human foods. But after a lot of work, now it's possible, and you will see pretty soon official stamp from EU for some European companies. And beyond some local initiatives in Netherlands, Belgium, or Finland, it will be in many places. And few colleagues, they are developing like meat analogs, meatballs, or whatever, or appetizers, etc. So yes, you will see human food, but obviously you will see a lot of animals and plants fed with insects. As we do today, we are not in human food at Ŷnsect, but you will see salmon fed with insects, shrimps fed with insects, rainbow trout, sea bass, and also plants from the wine you will drink. The vineyard will be fertilized by the insect fertilizer. Fruit and vegetables, the wheat for your bread you will eat every day, it can be fertilized by our product. So it can really address the plate of any consumer in the world or in Europe every day at breakfast, lunchtime, in the dinner, because we can address anything you eat. If you are flexitarian, vegan, or you eat a lot of meat, basically every day you eat animal and plants, and we can change the way how these plants and animals are fed. So it can have a massive
Great,
impact.
thank you. Hopefully that answered your question, Anne. And I see another very popular question is about meat substitutes. So you touched upon this a little bit earlier. We've seen sort of meatless meatballs and whatnot. And so curious what your thoughts are on that segment of the market.
But I think it's indeed a popular segment, especially in the US, but with Beyond Meat, as you said, Impossible Food and others. It's quite popular there because obviously hamburgers are popular in the US, more in Europe, but still we still have some different culture here, food culture, but it's developing. There are a lot of so either plant-based ingredients, cellular meats, but also insect product that tries to mimic this kind of processed food. I think is good for convenient food and for many people. It's not what I think it's not what Ÿnsect is, I think, willing to do. We are maybe thinking of ingredients, healthy ingredients. You know, we have proven with German scientists that our product could reduce cholesterol. It's reducing cholesterol in the liver, and having this kind of health benefits could be a good an interesting way to enter in the food market to prevent disease. And after we'll see how it goes, and if we will be able also one day to eat whole insect, like buying shrimps, buying locusts and cook them at home. It's maybe 10, 20, 30 years time, but maybe it will be good also to eat fresh food, fresh insects, and not only processed insects. But definitely there is room for this in the market, as there are room, and it will grow. Beyond Meat and Impossible Food are super successful today in the US and already starting to build a market in Europe. You can buy them, I think, in Burger King today in France.
Really? I'll have to try one next time. So I see several questions that touch on the current COVID crisis. So one person asked if your business model is changing due to COVID, and what have you learned personally or professionally from COVID?
I think as a company with COVID, we had two priorities. One was to protect our team health, and then was to ensure business continuity. So we protected from late February, early March, remote homework and independent shift at the factory in Dole with heavy protection. But we are used to it. We are in the food business, so we are used to work with masks and all other protections. So it was not, and same in our lab in Paris suburbs. So it's for our lab and factory work, it didn't really change. We reduced the number of people on site, etc. So it didn't have a lot of impact. Obviously, for all the corporate functions, support functions, everyone has been working from home, and all the tools like Livestorms or Zoom have been super helpful to keep working. And our works for the new factory in Amiens, they actually started just before the lockdown in France, and they are still running. It's still we don't see any impact there. We might have some delays. It's still possible because of all the impact everywhere in the world on the supply chain in terms of supply of equipment. So we might have some delays there, but there is nothing major for our case. We are an essential business. It's a food business, so we can still operate today, and we will operate our next factory. I think it will be open, so we don't see any big impact now.
Got it.
Sorry, I will just plug. I have an issue of. I will get out of battery. Just a second.
No worries. Let's see. These are great questions. Thank you, everyone, for submitting all these questions. I wish we had more time. So in the survey that we'll send you after the webinar, let us know if you like these webinars to be a little bit longer. I feel like I still have so many questions that we would like to ask Antoine, but I think we will end with a question that you sort of began talking about, but what is your vision for the future of food? I mean, it's a massive market, like you said. And so in, let's say, 20, 30 years, what do you think it'll look like? And yeah, take it away.
Yeah, I think we we are working to build a more sustainable and healthy and resilient food system, and just the coronavirus is a shock, but that goes anyway, helping all of us to go faster in the direction we were aiming at. Obviously, everyone is looking for more local food, and this is why we are doing what we are doing at Ÿnsect. We need to build more local, more transparent, more balanced production with nature and with the people. But we can't forget also that we are lucky in France. We have a good climate, good soil, good science and technology. Many countries don't have this and will still rely on imports because they live in very dry areas without very good soils, very good conditions. So in many parts in Africa or in Southeast Asia, so they will, because of their natural ecosystems, they won't be able to be self-sufficient. So obviously you will still need to export from countries like France, but we can reduce this, make it more relevant in many places. Why should we send some fish juveniles to China to grow them there and then bring them back to France for their harvest and consumption? Why should we rely so much on South American soy or fish meal, where we can do a lot in Europe with plant-based ingredients and insect and other ingredients? So it will change this. Clearly, the coronavirus will accelerate the transition. We were already starting, at least in Europe. Hopefully it will accelerate this in other parts of the world, like in China. But I think it goes in a good direction, and consumers' demand is helping also farmers and food processors to switch to more natural, easier without additives and more and healthier ingredients, and hopefully also less processed food. Go back to the kitchen, cook yourself fresh food with the family, a friend, etc. That's the best way to be healthy and to just have pleasure of eating and share good time with friends and family.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a great way to end. And I'll also tack on one fun fact that I discovered about Antoine. So apparently you've been in several bands in a past life. And so I guess I'll also encourage everyone to weave a little bit of music into your life during COVID. Yeah. So thank you so much. That's a good place to wrap up. But again, thanks for sharing your journey as an entrepreneur and giving us a taste of the future. We look forward to following the next chapter of Ÿnsect.
I just see a lot of questions I couldn't answer, but obviously let me know, send us an email at contact our media at Ÿnsect and to answer and discuss. It was a short time, but we'll be happy to answer directly. And thanks again for Epic for this, for what you do. It's important. So I'm really happy to be a pledger and to have helped today, hopefully, Agir pour l'École Association and their important work.
Thank you. Thank you. So as a reminder to everyone, we have another webinar next Wednesday. So same day, same time. And the topic will be data against COVID with Sébastien Delatay. So please register for that. You'll see a little pop-up on your screen. And then lastly, we have a favor to ask all of you. So when the webinar ends in a minute, please stick around for an extra 5 seconds. You'll automatically see our little Super Bowl commercial about the Epic Pledge. And actually, I see some other Epic Pledge founders and investors in the room with us today. So shout out to Red River West and our other friends here. We're a pretty cool community. So again, please stick around, check out the pledge, and reach out to us if you would like to join us. Our email address is epicpledge@epic.foundation. And again, thank you all and see you next week. Thank you, Antoine.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.